I, Helen Collins, am a 29-year-old librarian in a quaint, unnoticed town. My life has always been marked by quiet contentment, though some might find it dull. Books have always been my closest companions, providing solace from the world outside. My workplace, a charmingly old library with creaky floors and worn walls, is my sanctuary, flawed yet perfect in my eyes. Every morning at 8 a.m., I unlock the doors, turn on the lights, and relish the familiar aroma of paper and ink. My life follows a comforting rhythm that never feels monotonous. I lost my parents early in life, and my grandmother lovingly raised me, nurturing my passion for books. Now, I live alone, no siblings, no extended family, just me and my small, quiet world. Morning, Helen. Mr. Jenkins, a loyal visitor, greets me each day. He's an elderly gentleman with a love for history. I smile back, telling him about the new history books we received. My days are filled with familiar faces, children looking for school books, Mrs. Harris seeking romance novels, and Mr. Thompson browsing the science fiction aisle. My life is simple and predictable, but I find comfort in it. Then everything changes the day Jack walks into my world. Unlike most patrons, Jack doesn't quite fit in. His sharp suit and confident demeanor make him stand out. "Can you help me find a book?" he asks, his voice smooth. "Certainly. What are you looking for?" I reply, trying to stay composed. "The Great Gatsby," he says. I lead him to the classics, and as I hand him the book, our hands touch for a moment. It's brief but leaves an impression. "Thanks, Helen," he says, glancing at my name tag. "I'm Jack. Nice to meet you." And just like that, my life shifts, a brief moment sparking what I believe to be a timeless love. Yet life doesn't come with instructions, and some lessons I would learn are hard-earned. After that day, Jack visits the library frequently. Despite not being the typical bookworm, he consistently seeks recommendations, sparking longer conversations. One day, as I struggle with a heavy box, he offers to help. I learn that Jack is involved in his family's real estate business, and we bond easily. For the first time, I feel like someone genuinely cares about me. Then, he surprises me one day. "Helen, would you like to have dinner with me tonight?" "Like a date?" I ask, caught off guard. He smiles. "Yes, a date." Though nervous, there's something in me that wants to say yes. "All right," I reply, keeping my voice steady. That evening, we dine at a cozy restaurant, chatting about everything and nothing. For those few hours, I forget my usual solitude. Walking home afterward, Jack confesses, "I really enjoyed tonight. Helen, you're different from anyone I've met." Flustered, I smile in response. "Can we do this again?" he asks, hopeful. "Yes, I'd like that." And so, our relationship deepens. We meet regularly, exploring more of life beyond the quiet walls of the library. I fall for him, drawn in by his charm and attentiveness. When he proposes, I'm too blinded by love to notice the red flags, believing our bond would be lifelong. But things shift after our engagement. Jack's parents, wealthy and traditional, disapprove of me. They question my background and my lack of wealth during a tense dinner at their lavish home. Despite this, Jack stands by me, further affirming my love for him. Before the wedding, his parents insist on a prenuptial agreement, framing it as a formality, having little to my name. I agree without concern. After our marriage, I move into Jack's house, which, though technically ours, feels like his parents' domain. They frequently visit, giving orders and reminders that nothing truly belongs to me. Jack, too, starts to change. He becomes distant, even joining in his parents' taunts. One evening, when I seek his opinion on an outfit, he laughs. "This one makes you look less plain." His words sting, and I realize he's different around his parents, supportive one moment, critical the next. Life in that house drains me. I feel like an outsider, unwelcome in my own home. Over time, the stress takes a toll on my health, and one day, I collapse at work. At the hospital, the doctor attributes my condition to stress, recommending a brief stay. Jack doesn't visit or call, leaving me to confront my solitude. Unexpectedly, a notary arrives with surprising news. An aunt I'd almost forgotten about has left me a substantial inheritance of $30 million. I go from being the modest librarian to someone wealthy overnight. When Jack and his family find out, their attitudes change instantly. "Dear, we're thrilled for you," Margaret gushes, her sincerity questionable. "Yes, we're family. We should look after each other," Richard adds, all too eager. Sensing their sudden interest, I overhear them discussing my inheritance outside my room. It's clear they see me as a financial asset now, a means to their ends. My discomfort grows, and I realize I need to protect myself from their greed. Leaving the hospital, I find Jack and his parents awaiting my return, eager for details about the inheritance. Jack, once my love, now feels like a stranger. "When will you get it?" he asks, barely hiding his impatience. Understanding their motives, I respond coldly, "Soon, but it's none of your concern." Ignoring my resolve, Jack starts talking about marital rights to my inheritance. That night, surrounded by their feigned warmth and thinly veiled greed, I know it's time to break free from this toxic cycle. I must reclaim my life and make choices on my own terms. Restless that night, I sat down and meticulously recorded every instance of cruelty and manipulation from Jack and his parents. By morning, I was armed with solid evidence and went straight to see a lawyer. After reading through the prenuptial agreement, he assured me that my assets were safe. I felt empowered for the first time, ready to take back control of my life. When I returned home, Jack and his parents were seated in the living room, wearing strained smiles. "There she is, our resilient Helen," Richard greeted, his smile insincere. I took a deep breath, bracing myself. "I have something to say," I announced with steady resolve. The room fell silent, eyes on me as I declared, "I'm filing for divorce." The shock was instant. Margaret's face contorted with rage as she threatened to take a portion of my inheritance. With calm confidence, I pulled the prenuptial agreement from my purse. "Actually, you can't. This states that neither of us is entitled to the other's assets in case of divorce." Their expressions turned to shock, and for once, I held all the power. "I'm leaving, and I don't want to hear from any of you," I said firmly, as I walked out of that house. Their angry shouts faded behind me. It was incredibly hard, but as I drove away, I felt an overwhelming sense of freedom. It was as if years of weight had finally lifted. Moving forward, I rented a modest apartment in the city. It wasn't grand, but it was my space, free from judgment and manipulation. While the divorce proceedings continued, I began to feel stronger and more at peace. One day, my lawyer called with an update on my great-aunt's inheritance. Curious, I asked, "Is there something new?" He explained that my great-aunt had left a condition in her will. I was to use part of the inheritance for a charitable cause. Learning that she had been a philanthropist, I felt this was the direction I needed. I started researching causes and soon came across an organization that supported women escaping domestic abuse. Moved by their mission, I met with Linda, the organization's director, and decided to fund a new shelter. At the shelter's opening, the atmosphere was alive with hope. Among the guests, I spotted a familiar face, Sarah, an old friend from the library. Reuniting with her felt like a reconnection to a happier time. The work at the shelter brought a new purpose to my life, filling me with gratitude and strength. Then, unexpectedly, I received a call from Jack. His number was one I hadn't seen in a while, and despite my mixed feelings, I answered. "Hello, Jack." He requested a meeting, claiming he'd made a mistake and wanted a second chance. We met at a quiet coffee shop, where he appeared defeated, a shadow of his once confident self. "Helen, I've realized how much I need you," he confessed, his voice filled with regret, but all I felt was anger and disgust. "Why now, Jack?" I questioned coldly. His eyes fell. "My parents controlled everything. They drove us apart. I was weak, but I've changed." I shook my head. "You let them belittle me, Jack. You joined in." He reached out, but I pulled away. "It's too late. I feel nothing for you, nothing but contempt." Jack's expression fell as he saw the finality in my words. "I understand," he muttered, standing up. I walked away, feeling a wave of closure and relief. The next day, I attended an event at the shelter. A local artist had donated a sculpture, and as it was unveiled, a figure of a woman reaching upward, symbolizing hope and resilience, the crowd erupted in applause. standing with people who truly supported me. I felt a profound sense of belonging. Linda approached me, smiling. Helen, this is just the start. There's so much more we can accomplish. I knew she was right. This was the beginning of a meaningful life, and I was fully ready to embrace it. My life at the shelter was fulfilling, filled with new challenges and small victories. I even signed up for self-defense classes, something I never would have imagined before. Day by day, my confidence grew, and I felt truly in charge of my own path. One afternoon, as I left the shelter, I spotted a car outside. To my surprise, Margaret stepped out, her tone unexpectedly soft as she said, "Helen, I need to speak with you." I looked at her, my voice steady. "I have nothing to say to you, Margaret," and with that, I turned and walked away, resolute in my decision to leave that part of my life behind. I replied, my voice firm and calm, "All right, Margaret, go ahead." She looked at me, her expression softened by regret. "I see now how terribly we treated you," she admitted, her voice pleading. I hesitated, my mind split between old memories and the woman standing before me. "What is it that you want, Margaret?" I asked, my tone guarded. She sighed, visibly emotional. "I'm sorry, Helen. I know I made your life miserable, and because of it, I've lost my son. I don't want to lose you too. You were like the daughter I never had," she said, her voice quivering. I could see the sincerity, but the scars she left ran deep. "Margaret, you put me through so much pain," I replied, unmoved. "An apology won't erase that. I've moved on, and you should too." She reached out as if to bridge the gap, but I took a step back. "Please, Helen," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I know I can't undo what happened, but I want to try to make things right." I shook my head, resolved. "It's too late for that. Margaret, goodbye." I walked away, feeling her eyes on me but refusing to turn back. I'd come too far to look back now. The following day, a letter arrived from Jack's lawyer. He was trying to challenge the divorce settlement. It didn't surprise me, but I was prepared. Meeting with my lawyer, Rachel, she reassured me. "He's got nothing to stand on, Helen. The prenuptial agreement covers everything. This is just a scare tactic." I nodded. "I'm done being intimidated by him. Let's handle this." When the court day came, I entered with confidence. Jack and his lawyer were already there, and our eyes met briefly. For a moment, I saw a glimpse of the Jack I once knew, but it quickly disappeared. The judge listened to both sides before confirming the validity of our prenuptial agreement. Dismissing Jack's claims, relief and victory washed over me. Afterward, Jack approached, his voice low with remorse. "Helen, I was wrong," he admitted. I looked at him, seeing the man I used to care for, but my feelings had changed. "Goodbye, Jack. Take care," I said, turning away. Leaving the courtroom, I felt closure. That part of my life had ended, and I was stepping into a new chapter. Back at the shelter, we were preparing for a fundraiser, and it was exhilarating. The community's support was incredible, filling me with gratitude. The night of the event was electric, filled with people united for our cause. Looking around, I realized how much I had changed, from a reserved, fearful woman to someone who could stand tall and fight not only for herself but for others too. "Helen, look at this. It's incredible," Sarah said, joining me. I smiled. We did this together, and there's so much more ahead. As the night went on, I felt pride and purpose like never before. This was my life now, and it felt exactly right. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Stay inspired.